The Secrets of Technology is brought to you by the StarQuest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit sqpn.com/give. You're listening to The Secrets of Technology. Hi, I'm Dom Bettinelli, and you're listening to The Secrets of Technology, where we discuss the technology news that's important to you from a uniquely Catholic point of view. And joining me today on the panel are Pat Scott. Hey, Pat.
Greetings and salutations.
And Father Andrew Kinstetter. Hey, Father Andrew.
Hello there.
I want to start off by telling everyone about another show on the StarQuest Network they are sure to enjoy called The Secrets of Stargate. And you can find that wherever fine podcasts are found or at sqpn.com/Stargate. Into the seventh chevron. It's a great show. I love that show. So this time before we get started about this topic, I just want to, mention to folks in case they haven't heard that the Apple has announced that they're going to have an event in 2 weeks from when we're recording this. So September 12th, which is a Tuesday. And rumor has it they might announce a new iPhone, but don't bet the farm on that.
Every year they do this.
So they say, So anyway, so I'm sure we are planning to talk about their announcements afterward, and which phone I'm going to get because I'm at the phone buying part of the cycle. So this is my year for a new phone.
I just bought mine recently, so too bad for me.
Yeah. So yes, but this week we're talking about email security. I looked up in our archives and we've kind of brushed against this topic a few times, but we haven't really addressed it head on. This idea of keeping our email secure. And the fact is I think my opinion is the most important thing to keep secure of all of our technology, perhaps, is email, because your email address is the holy grail of personal information. It is the golden key that unlocks everything in a sense, because very often your email account is the last defense for when you've forgotten the password, or if someone's trying to get the password for an account, the website will email a new password to you. And if someone's got your email account, they've got the ability to get those passwords sent to them. They change it. Now they've locked you out of your bank account, your Facebook, your whatever.
And your email,
right on top of it. So, and then they can pretend to be you to other people and, make life hell. So keeping your email secure is very important. It's one of the most important things you can do. And just to give you an idea of the importance of it, there was a recent story about how Chinese hackers, the Chinese government, was hacking the email account of Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo. Getting into we hear about this all the time. Government employees getting their email accounts hacked, because getting in there is the first step to getting into everything. So we've got a bunch of email security tips, hints, and tips. A lot of this stuff will sound familiar because it's similar to other things, other places on the internet where to stay safe. But we want to bring them up again. And the first one, the most obvious one, the one I say all the time: strong and unique passwords, and a different one for each email account. That's right there. And of course, because they're strong, unique, and different, you also need a password manager to keep those safe. So, that's the biggest, most obvious one to me, right? Any agreement? Yeah.
Well, absolutely. I think I remember growing up and you'd have, we would always have all the passwords written down on a sticky note and put above the computer in the cabinet. A password manager is basically that, but a digital version of it. And no, it makes so much sense, because we all want to do what's simple and easy, but what's simple and easy is easily hackable and easily guessed or easily cracked in all what the hackers can do. So, and my brain always goes to Spaceballs. If you've ever seen that movie, when it comes to a password, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, don't do that as your password.
Right.
So yeah, absolutely. That's huge.
I would say, like, even if the only thing you did was have strong, unique passwords and put them on a sticky note in the cabinet above the computer desk, that's still better than not.
Yeah, yeah. And the other thing to remember about strong passwords too is, even if you don't have a password manager, you can still make them easy to remember, but it would be helpful to avoid using like real names or, your phone number or,
Birthdays,
anything real.
Yeah.
I've always heard a strong thing to do if you want a kind of a mnemonic device to remember it. I used to do this, and I'm going to say it because I've now since changed my mnemonic device. So feel free to use this if you want to at home. But the idea would be like have a phrase and use the first letter of each word as your base password and like switch things up. So if you've got, so the example that I would use is may the force be with you. You put like capital M, lowercase t for may the, and then like for force, you put the number 4 instead of F, and then, capital B, W, capital U, and then maybe throw in a year or something that's 1977 or whatever you want to throw in there. And then the idea would be is if you use something complex like that as your base password, and then you add something additional at the end of it for each website.
Right. So for Amazon, NE for Netflix. That's it's a simple way to make it unique for most of my clients.
Exactly. And that way, if a hacker does get your base password, they still have to they still won't get the password to all the websites because that's unique to each website that you've created.
Right. If you want a website to help you create strong, unique passwords, whether they're memorable, that they're easy to remember or what, there's a great website, xkpasswd.net. I'll put the link in the show notes, but xkpassword.net. And it's XK because it's inspired by a comic strip from the XKCD comic strip about strong passwords. And it basically you check these boxes for the kinds of how to put it, like the settings, like do you want words, do you want alternating word case, you check off the options and then it will generate a password for you. If you want it to be memorable, like dictionary words but in strange combinations or that sort of thing, that it'll do it for you. So it's a great way to create passwords. All good password managers also have a password generator built into them and that sort of thing. And I tell you, it can be a real pain. Like I was setting up a computer for my daughter the other day, and I needed to log into my Gmail account on this new computer in order to, because she's a minor and she's the Google family thing, and I had to approve it. But I had to type in my Google password, my Gmail password, and it is so long. It is so annoying. And I'm like, ugh. But then I was setting up Minecraft on their computer, as you do, and I needed to log into my Microsoft account. And Microsoft says you can put in your password, or you could use the Microsoft Authenticator app on your phone. And I'm like, and just tap, we'll show you a number and tap the same number when it pops up on the screen. So that's that's a second factor, which we'll get into in a second. But just to say, even though it's a pain sometimes to have to enter these passwords, you still want to have them strong, because don't scrimp on this one. The email one is the one you don't want to scrimp on.
Right. It's better than the alternative.
Yeah.
And the one thing I would like to caution against, though, is people will sometimes use a pattern that's really easy to type on a computer and a pain and a half on a cell phone. Yeah. So I would suggest, avoiding upper, lower, shift what, that may make it very strong. But it's so hard to type that you're going to get it locked up.
Right.
Because it's just too complex for somebody to type. Now, I have resorted to typing it into a notepad, copy, paste into because you can't see it when you're typing it in most websites.
Right.
Some of them will show it to you and some of them won't.
Yeah.
So, I want strong passwords, but I don't want them so complex that somebody can't type them without making a mistake. We spent an hour today on somebody's router because they didn't have the stupid password that AT&T puts in. They had 3 different things that it could have been, and every time it was so easy to slip and put the wrong character.
Yeah.
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 So,
I agree.
yeah. So just be careful on that. You know, the phrase is really one of the best secure methods. The other is 2 unrelated words with numbers, and then of course something for the website would help.
Yeah.
You know, like Amazon, whatever. But the 2 unrelated words like purple banana or hard pillow, or something that's not related, something that's an opposite, or something like that. That's also very secure.
Right. So passwords is the first one. The second one I kind of alluded to, which is any type of 2-factor authentication that they give you. And this can be a 2-factor, like 6-digit code that's used in like a Google Authenticator. There are several different authenticators that they offer, but that can be built into your password manager. But so it could be a code, but it could also be an app like Microsoft offers. And if they allow you to do multiple methods, like you can set up 2-factor authentication with the Authenticator app, and to we can also have a backup to another email address or to a phone number. That might be good too. I don't like the ones where they text you the code, because texting is inherently insecure. It's an insecure system. I would prefer them to use one of these apps, but
better that than no authenticator.
Right, exactly.
Because it's difficult. I mean, yes, you can break SMS and get it redirected, but it's not as simple as it would be as if you didn't use a 2-factor.
Exactly. So 2-factor authentication is, if it's available, use it. You use it wherever, but especially on your email.
And I got another thing to throw in about passwords before we kind of shift off, especially if you use a password manager. This is such a good idea. Is there's usually when you set that up, there's a master kind of backup password. That is something to save, throw in your safety deposit box, give to a loved one. And I'm thinking especially for the elderly, like if you end up passing away and nobody knows your passwords because they're super secure.
Yes.
You know, ideally you have a way that they can use that master password to get into tell your passwords and accounts and, close out what they need to for someone who's passed away. So, we want to keep it secure, but we also want to be able to let people in who we want in as well for those situations.
One of my lawyers recommended the method of if you've got a will in your house, you know what folder it's in, and you tell your family. Okay. Also in that folder, just put a copy of your password manager password, maybe the code to get into your phone, and maybe even your email password just as another option. But that's where your family members can go to look to get your passwords unlocked for them.
Right. And I would mention that we did have an episode, Tech Memento Mori, where we talked about, when we die, because we all will someday, how to deal with either prepare our tech for other people or be prepared for other people's to dealing with other people's tech. It's so if you go to starquest.fm/TEC118, you'll be able to find that episode. But that's a really good point. Make sure someone else has your master password. Also, backup codes. They often get backup codes when you get 2-factor authentication. Throw those in your password manager too. So just in case. So another piece of advice is make sure that this doesn't really go for browser-based email, but if you have a email app on your phone or on your computer, keep your email apps up to date. Keep your operating system security update. Keep your devices updated. All those things, because those security holes get found. They need to be patched. This is a general tech thing to do, but it applies especially to email. So definitely do that. So as far as the email that you receive, this is a whole nother area that we have to think about, is keeping yourself safe from email you receive. So one of the things to be, and we'll kind of go through this in several different ways, but in general, be skeptical. Be skeptical of unsolicited emails, especially that contain links or attachments. I mean, many of us have been on the internet long enough where we know this, but a lot of people don't because people still get caught. So even if it seems
All the
legitimate.
time.
All the time. Right. So if you, and sophisticated, smart people, not just,
Yeah.
unsophisticated, naive people. So if there's a link in an email, don't click the link. Find out where's the website, and then just go to that, open your web browser separately and type it in if you can. Sometimes there's a link to a very specific thing or whatever, but be very skeptical of links and especially attachments, because they very often are, if they're, it's 100%, if they come unsolicited, they're probably someone trying to scam you. So that's
especially if they say invoice or bid or things like that, the generic type of attachment,
right.
then often it's a scam.
Or, oh, by the way, we've charged you $300 for this thing on your Amazon account. No, they didn't. Like, just ignore it. Because if it were real, someone would be calling you. You know what I mean? It would be, the IRS isn't calling you to ask, to pay your back taxes or get arrested and pay your taxes using a gift card. That's not happening. That sort of stuff is not real. So, so that's a more general. So when you talk about specifics, but one of the things is to, a lot of email systems now will let you block auto loading of images. So a lot of email comes looking like a web page. It's got, pretty, it's got images and HTML and all that sort of stuff in it. But that stuff can sometimes hide malware or bad links. And it can also notify the person on the other end, because you've loaded that image, that this email account is a legitimate one. It's one that someone's using, and therefore they'll start sending you even more stuff. So you can block auto loading of images, and then you click a button and it will load them for you if it's a legitimate message. But I will have links for how to do that in Apple Mail, in Outlook, and in Gmail, and I'm sure other systems will be similar.
Have similar stuff. Well, I guess it really upsets me that Apple used to automatically block them until you said, look at it, or if it was in your address book. And now you have to go through a procedure, and you're going to have the link to that. But just know that Apple Mail used to, and now it doesn't.
It used to automatically default to not loading the images. Now it defaults to loading the images unless you tell it not to. Yeah, that annoyed me when that switched over, because,
I didn't even notice when it switched, because I use so many different email systems. I just was assuming it was still the same way. And all of a sudden I realized, hey, it's not doing it.
That's right. That's right. So there's another one we have to be wary of. Father Andrew, you had some experience with this one.
Yeah, this is probably the email security area that I have the most experience, but not so much because I've been on the scammed end of it, but because of the nature of being a priest, I know people who have been scammed. So phishing is the topic that I kind of know a lot of. And, the idea behind phishing, it's spelled with a PH, but it's sending an email, scammers sending an email trying to get your personal information, whether through a link or through you respond to them and then email them, your credit card number or whatever. So they're phishing for sensitive information to steal from you. And this is just super, super, super common. And one of the big things to watch out for, we've already kind of mentioned it, but if it sounds fishy, it probably is. So, so you want to always just be on your guard. If something feels wrong, wait, don't respond. Just kind of check it out legitimately. So there are a number of things that you can do immediately to tell if it's phishing. And the simplest thing is to just look at the return email address. What email address was it sent from? If it's sent from Amazon, it's going to be sent from an official Amazon.com email, not a Amazon123@hotmail.com.
Yeah.
And even if you do get an email that you think is from Amazon and it looks legitimately like from Amazon, still it's better to go to the website, Amazon.com, log into your account, check whatever it was claiming, a failed delivery or whatever, rather than clicking on anything in that email address or that email that was sent, just to make sure. So, other things to point out too is, if the grammar and the spelling of the email is off. because that's a clear sign that it's coming probably from the foreign nations who don't know English very well, and likely it's a scam. And know that Prince in Nigeria does not have $2 million. I am sorry,
Of
but
course,
it's just
now they're using AI, so they may be cleaning up a lot of that spelling and stuff. Quite seriously.
Yeah,
that's a good point. So. They're getting smarter all the time, and you just gotta be on your toes. The other huge thing about these phishing emails is they typically demand urgent action. So they're trying to trigger
Scare you.
an emotional response. So fear, you're gonna miss out on something, or I've seen it. Your package wasn't delivered, and you need to respond right now. And most people have plenty of Amazon packages en route. And so it's natural, like, oh shoot, like I had a failed delivery. I need to do something right now. And you'll click on it. Don't ever click on those things. The other one that often happens in my life as a priest is either I get something from so-called, my bishop who needs my help and won't talk to me on the phone, but he wants me to go buy gift cards for these poor families, and I need to send it to him. And that's, of course, a complete scam. Or I've had parishioners, when I was in the parish, receive similar emails claiming to be from me, the pastor. And, I'm too busy in a meeting to talk on the phone, but I need your help right now to buy gift cards. Or usually it's to buy gift cards for some mostly legitimate reason. But it's still vague and ambiguous. So anytime you see those kind of things, just verify in person, give the parish a call.
I always wondered, how do they know you're their priest? Like, where are they getting these connections from? It's kind of scary.
My assumption,
stealing mailing lists. They're stealing mailing lists from somewhere.
Yeah.
Or, pulling from the website information. I mean, a lot of, like, our diocese has disabled email links on the website, but you can still clearly see who's pastor of what parish.
Right.
But then how they're getting my parishioners' emails.
Yeah.
That almost sounds like, as I say, a stolen, breached website, or, where a list of parishioners is somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've had parishioners fall for it too. So,
yeah.
Never, always verify in person, go to the office, call the parish office on the phone, never respond out of emotion, whether it's fear or even a false sense of compassion for whoever you're trying to help. Those are all tactics of fishers. The other thing to do is don't respond when you're tired. My dad fell into one because he woke up in the middle of the night and saw a notification on his phone that something was wrong with one of his accounts. And after he signed in, he then realized exactly what had happened. And thankfully, he was able to change his password right then and there and didn't get anything stolen. But he called me the next morning and was like, did I do everything right to prevent this? And I said, yeah, you change your passwords and everything, you should be fine. Just watch your accounts. But the key is he responded when he was half asleep.
Right.
And so he wasn't thinking.
Nothing is that urgent.
Right.
Yeah. I
had a lawyer that lost $70,000 because he responded to a phone call when he was tired.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And they tricked him into thinking it was a bank that was needing verification of an employee that was a fraud, etc.
Mm-hmm.
It was awful.
Well, and even emails will do something like that, be supposedly from your bank, and then have a phone number that you call that number and it's not the bank, it's the scammer.
But they answer like it is.
Exactly. So never go through the email to verify these things. Always call your bank directly, call the parish church
Use
directly.
The number on your statement or something like that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
don't Google it.
Yes. Right. Yeah. And we've talked about that. Someone tried to scam me recently on my Apple Card account. And I talked about some of this, about not, taking the calls when they ask for your 2-factor authentication, you never give it, all that sort of stuff. So definitely all that sort of stuff still applies, that, you just don't give that stuff out.
I've seen things, not personally, but I've heard stories of things happening where someone is like talking to you through Facebook or WhatsApp or some other third-party messaging system, and they're trying to log into your account, and it's sending you, the one being scammed, your two-factor authentication text message, and they're then asking you through the messaging app for that text number.
Right.
Never give that out, because that is completely their way. They're trying to log in as you and then use you with your phone, and you who receive that two-factor authentication, they want you to give them that number.
Right.
And then they have access to your account and everything. So,
and when the notification pops up on your phone, it will say, "Don't give this to anyone." And you'll say to them, it says, "Don't give this to anyone." They say, "Oh, just ignore that." And people will just ignore it.
Yep.
Don't listen to the person on the phone. Pay attention to the message that your computer is trying to help you with. Mm-hmm. So, some other things, there's a lot of the phishing problems that we get into, but I want to kind of talk about some other email specific ones. And one of those is about using email on public Wi-Fi. It's one thing if your phone is on a Wi-Fi on Wi-Fi at the cafe, at the coffee shop, and you're looking at the mail app on your phone that's already logged in, like it's already just downloading email. That's a little different. What I'm saying is if you are on your computer, on your phone, and you're logging in for the first time, like in a web browser on your phone, you're probably okay on public Wi-Fi, but it's another step you may want to take. You may want to, in general, just when you're on public Wi-Fi, use a VPN, virtual private network, to create a secure tunnel for you through their Wi-Fi onto the internet, just as an extra security. But even more importantly, with public computers, like when you go to like at a library or a internet cafe, if those even still exist anymore,
hotels, business center,
right?
Yeah.
Be very careful about entering passwords into those devices, because those computers could be infected with keyloggers, which record everything you type, or other types of malware, packet sniffers, all that sort of stuff. You got to be careful with that sort of thing. So be very careful using public Wi-Fi or public computers.
Right. It's safer to use your cell phone on cellular to get to your email or banking or that type of thing than it is a public Wi-Fi for sure, unless you've got a VPN.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And a VPN is a great thing to have. A reputable one. Don't download random VPN apps from the App Store, but get something like ExpressVPN, Encrypt, which comes with the Eero. There's various VPNs out there.
Some of the antiviruses have a VPN that you can get as an add-on, price. Yeah.
NordVPN, I've heard a lot about too. It's another one.
Right.
So that's good. You can a security step that you can take that's a little bit more advanced is end-to-end encryption, where you basically on your side you encrypt the email, and then the recipient has to decrypt it, and that requires things like public and private keys, and it's going to be very specific between two people. Like it's the person on the other end has to know that they're going to need to decrypt. It's a bit of a more advanced technique. I don't want to necessarily get into it now, but it's just something to think about if you find yourself like you have to exchange secure information a lot. You're a journalist, you're a doctor or a lawyer, priest. You sometimes have to share secure information, counselors and therapists and that sort of thing. And so if that's your profession, you might already know about that, or you will hire somebody to help you do it, because that's sort of thing you'd need to know. But I think most people probably don't need this secure email at this level.
Well, if you have a recurring need for it, then I think we've talked about things like Proton and a couple of the other ones that if both people are using them, it's encrypted.
Yes.
And if only one person's using it and you're just sending out, then just remember that even though it's a secure email system, if the other person isn't using that same system, it's not going to be encrypted. So you can't count on, I'm using a secure system, and send out something to somebody.
I want to keep moving through this because I realize we've only gotten partway through our list and we've gotten a half hour. So I want to make sure we hit a couple of these because they're really important. One is make sure that you have account recovery options set up. Most email providers have a way for you to get back in your account that is not logging with a username and password, but will be like a phone number, another email address that is not part of that provider. Like if you have a Gmail account, don't give them another Gmail address as your backup. Set up another email account somewhere else. Could be a work email. It could be something else, but just use another system so that you have a backup to get into your email. That's very important. And multiple ones. If they let you put in multiple phone numbers, put your phone number, your spouse's phone number, your brother's phone number, like just multiple ways to get in, just in case. Let's talk about filters and spam protection. Pat, do you have a little bit to say about that? Setting up filters and spam filters for folks?
Right. So basically, a lot of times you will get an email program that doesn't do very good filtering of spam. And so you can set up your own filters to say, well, if it's coming from this domain or if it's coming from with this topic, put that into the spam folder or put it into a check it please folder. And that's really helpful. I've got several senders that they don't think they're spam, but I've never signed up for them. And so I don't really want to get all these things for other churches and mailing lists, it's that type of thing. So I set up filters that if it's coming in, just delete them, so I don't even have to worry about it because I've tried reporting them as spam a bunch and it doesn't seem to help. So now different email programs have good and better methods of filtering. Some don't have any. I couldn't find very many good filters in Yahoo. Gmail is great at setting up filters. Yeah. And you can say, take this example email and you go over to say, I want to create a filter from this email, and it'll create all the criteria. And then you just say, I'll put it in spam or put it in a special folder. And that really helps a lot of my people who can't get rid of recurring spam and it's just bothering them.
That's good.
So that and let's see, filter spam. As I say, if you have a program that you're using on your own computer, sometimes Outlook, Apple Mail, they have filters you can set up as well. They don't give any feedback to the company that you're getting your email through that this is spam, however.
Right.
So if you mark it as spam, it doesn't let the rest of the world know that's spam, and it won't put it in spam if you go to the website.
Right.
So
that's right. So if I'm in Apple Mail and I'm checking my Gmail account, I can mark something as junk mail and it'll put it in the junk mail folder, but that only works on that computer and that email program. It doesn't mean that Gmail will put it in its junk mail folder or anything like that. That's true.
Right.
Very good. Good point. So
okay, that's really enough on that.
Yeah. And so backups, backing up your contacts, backing up your email, those are both important. I'll have links to guides from Apple to back up the contacts app on your Mac or your iPhone or iPad. Also how to export contacts in Outlook. You can also export Gmail contacts through their web browser. There's some instructions that I think, Pat, you put those instructions in the... So, yeah, it's kind of convoluted, but if you go to contacts.google.com, and then there should be you look at the menu bar, and there should be a symbol that looks like an up arrow in a flat box, and then you just select that and you export it as like a CSV or something like that, and that would be portable to other programs too. But what it does is, in case something happens to your email account, you've saved all your contacts so that you could re-upload them again.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had several clients that lost their ability to get into their Gmail or to their Yahoo or to whatever, and all their contacts were in there. They had nothing. They had no way to get any of it back. Yeah.
So backups, as we always say. And you can back up your email. I'll have some links to how you can back up email from Gmail, Apple, and Outlook. And I'll include a program called Eagle Filer, which is a little bit more comprehensive mail archiver for Mac that lets you save and organize lots of email. So if you get and save lots of email, I generally try to delete as much as I can. But if you're an email hoarder, this will help you with that. Some jobs require it, so that's no judgment. But yeah. So, and then I want to mention a few of the email providers. These are providers that provide they advertise themselves as secure email. Like the security is their thing. Pat, you mentioned Proton Mail. They've come up before. There's another one called Zoho Mail and one called Mailbox.org. I know that Proton and Mailbox.org are both based in Europe, where they have much more stringent data security laws, and that's to your protection, in general. So that makes it better. Pat, you had a few other things you wanted to mention about getting multiple ways to get into your email.
Yes, I have a lot of clients that have email on their computer, say maybe Outlook, and then something happens to that computer and they are in terrible trouble because they don't have any other way to go get their mail. So my feeling is that you should have at least two methods that you use all the time. One on the phone. Some of my clients don't want mail on their phone. They think, well, it's going to clutter it up. And I say it's an emergency measure, if nothing else. So on your phone and on the computer, or maybe in Outlook and in on the web, like if it's a Gmail account or an Apple account or whatever, you can go get those directly off the web. If it's a business mail, sometimes that's harder. There's not as many easy ways to go to those accounts from another spot. So, but if you could even say, well, I've got it on this computer in Outlook, and maybe I've also got it in Thunderbird or on another computer, two different ways that at all times you can get to your mail.
Right. That's a good point. And always have your email password available to you when you're out and about. Yes. You never know when you're going to need to have to get back into your email. So make sure that's a portable thing. It's on your phone for shorthand. We usually have our phones with us. And then you had another suggestion about having a second email account?
Oh, yes. I have a lot of clients who only have one email account. Something happens, they're locked out. They can't get any information out of their system. They can't do it. So maybe one Hotmail, one Gmail, or one, if you're still on Roadrunner, open up a Gmail account so that you have two ways that you could send a message and have stuff sent to you in case your primary gets trashed.
Right. And then you can import your contacts database, like we mentioned before, into the secondary and email all those people saying, by the way, my regular email account.
I no longer have that.
So good. So there's a lot of good information there, a lot of good tips. There's probably even more that we could delve into. And if listeners have suggestions for better email security, we'd love to hear them. If you have specific examples, anecdotes, stories of you losing security or your security saving you, we'd love to hear those. And you can let us know by emailing technology@sqpn.com. So I want to quickly move to thank our patrons before we move on, to thank our patrons who make it possible for us to create the secrets of technology, including Angie T, John H, Mark S, Thomas D, and John B. Their generous donations at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue the secrets of technology and all the shows at StarQuest. And you can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. So we have some headlines we'd like to discuss. And our first headline of the week is from the Washington Post, which says, you can say no to a TSA face scan, but even a senator had trouble when he did. Yeah, they didn't finish the sentence, but when he did. So the TSA has been testing use of facial recognition software to verify your traveler information. It's supposed to make things faster. It's like Clear and
TSA PreCheck.
Preach that. Thank you. TSA PreCheck.
Which is wonderful, by the way.
Yes. And so it's supposed to speed up the whole security thing. But
Yeah.
some people don't like facial recognition, facial ID, especially a government one, which is understandable. And we've talked about the problems with facial recognition in the past. But so when you go to the airport and they are testing it at that airport and they say, would you like to do it? If you opt out, you might end up having a problem. What's happened here is if you decline, a TSA agent's supposed to verify your identification, like we've always done. But when Senator Jeff Merkley of Oregon said no to the face scan at Washington's Reagan National Airport, where you are, Father, he was told it would cause a significant delay. If you don't do the face scan, you might miss your flight. Well, the senator
Threats.
showed his photo ID and cleared security. But it's kind of interesting. The technology is interesting. Would you want to get your face scanned by the TSA to make it easier and faster to get through? Would you trade off the government having this face scan of you versus faster?
I'm not on board with it. And I don't think it saves that much time. Of course, I've never yet experienced it, but I mean, still, you walk up to TSA and they run your driver's license and it takes 20 to 30 seconds. I mean, it's really so it's going to save me an extra 10 seconds in the long run
At most.
I would rather wait an extra 10 seconds and have all of our faces uploaded into a government database.
Which, to be fair, if you have a driver's license, your face is already in government database. But
True.
But regardless, your first point I think is true, which is it's not that much faster. So why are we doing this? Pat, what do you think of this?
Yeah, I know that there's been a lot of controversy over facial recognition because of it isn't as accurate in recognition in non-Anglos. Very often there's a misreading and misidentification. So I think unless the technology is 100% accurate, it doesn't do any good anyway. It causes more problems, I think, until they get it so that it's better. Even at that, yeah, I don't think I saw people using Clear at the airport, and yes, it was they put their face down and then they walked on through, but it wasn't that much longer, as Father says, for
Yep.
pre-TSA.
And I have to wonder, are computers going to be better at verifying ID than just a person looking at the ID? I don't know. I mean, I feel like the potential for error is much higher with the computer check than it is for a human being. We are built to recognize faces. That's just the one thing we're good at.
Yep.
And computers aren't yet. And I just feel like looking at an ID and looking at a person is much better than a computer doing that.
Well, and it's not just the face they're looking at. It's your stance, your expression.
Yeah.
There are other things that could be giving them clues about whether this is a valid person.
Mhm.
That facial scan isn't going to do that.
That's right. That's true. Yeah. And so that plus the fact that they're telling people that this optional thing is mandatory when it really isn't, and causing.
I think that's a bit of a problem.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you're gonna potentially miss your flight is basically saying, yeah, it's optional, but if you want to make your flight, you got to do it. And I don't like that at all.
Yeah, I agree. So our next headline is from The Guardian in the UK, and it brings up an interesting phenomenon, which I think is true, which is we used to check the weather every day. Now it's every minute. How we got addicted to weather apps. And they kind of get into the point that people have become kind of addicted to the weather apps. They're constantly checking the weather. What's the weather doing now? Is it raining out now? I have a weather app on my phone that tells me it's going to rain in 6 minutes. Honestly,
Will it?
I don't really need to know that unless I'm going to be outdoors in 6 minutes.
I have the widget, so all I have to do is glance at my phone and I can even see
Right.
Yes, I
Right.
have that.
weather right now.
Yeah, I do too.
And, honestly, I really do check my weather app a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember as a kid, you'd watch the evening news at 6
Yeah.
o'clock, and the weatherman would come on and give tomorrow's forecast. That would be that. And maybe you turn the radio on the AM, and they would give you the weather, every once in a while. But we're kind of obsessed about the weather now that we have these apps. So why do you think we're so obsessed with weather?
One of the things that they alluded to or pointed out in that article that I thought was interesting was the need for control. And they pointed out the fact that we went through a pandemic, and we just, like, as a people, as a world, we sort of just felt that we were thrown into kind of chaos and didn't know what was coming next, didn't know, right from left, what was going to happen. And so, like, knowing what's coming, even if it's just whether it's going to rain this afternoon or not, was giving people a sense of being in control in an uncontrollable world. And so I think we can all relate to that. I think maybe there's probably healthier outlets. There's definitely more unhealthy
How much does it
outlets.
hurt?
Right. We still can't control the weather, even if we know what's coming. But there's
Right.
still that sort of desire to control. And actually, sometimes, it's actually there's a goodness, even kind of from a spiritual perspective, of sometimes we have to just kind of let go and let God, and
Yeah.
So.
But in some ways, it's a little bit like, well, we're kind of predicting the future. Let's see if it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Because I've heard people say, it says it's going to rain in 6 minutes, and then they go look and see. It's like we want to see there's something dependable.
Right,
Because
right.
we've always said the weatherman wasn't dependable.
Right.
And the other thing, it gives you bragging rights. We've had 108 temperature this week, and people talk about that because they've got the weather right there on their app that they can see.
There's a bit of like that, but also I think like a bit of wallowing in the bad weather too. We can do that. We can, oh, look at this forecast. It's horrible. Oh, and we talk, what do we all talk about? We all talk about the weather. Yeah. Everyone talks about the weather. No one does anything about it, is the old saying. And, so there's that. There's also, of course, the climate change fears that a lot of us have, which is, is the climate's changing? How does this affect us? And so much of the news is focused on climate. And so we're always paying even more attention to weather, I think, because of that. So there's an element to that. I think they feed each other. I'll tell a quick story. I was camping, summer camp with the kids a couple weeks ago, and where we were is kind of prone to really bad weather in central Massachusetts. In fact, when I got back, someone told me, oh yeah, there was a huge tornado that went through that camp back in the 60s or something like that. I'm like, oh, that's good to know. But while I was there,
Wish I'd known that earlier.
yeah, exactly. So I was kind of worried about the bad weather there before we went, but it turns out while I was there and poor Melanie, my wife, was home alone in the house, some storms came through and a tornado came half a mile away from our house in suburban Boston, Massachusetts, like the suburb, half a mile away. We had a tornado, and the poor Melanie was like texting me, what do I do? Where do I go? I'm like, you're from Texas. You should know what to do with tornadoes. I only know hurricanes and blizzards.
Find a room without a window. That's the main thing.
I was like, dive in the tub and pull a mattress over you or something. I don't know. So
yeah, she's lived through a couple of tornadoes here in Austin. So
that's right. So,
Yeah.
but we're all, So it's funny. My kids on their phone are constantly looking at the weather apps. I'm like, you're here all day. They're homeschooled. It's like, what do you care about the weather? They just want to know. So
Just look outside.
Yeah, exactly. Look out the window.
But you can't see what's in the next town if you're looking outside.
That's right. All right. So the last headline is just satisfying. Have any of you received one of those, we've called you about your car's extended warranty? Well, you'll be glad to know that the SEC has handed out a historic fine to the robocaller company who made over 5 billion auto warranty calls. That's right. So they issued a $300 million fine against this these robocall operation. Lord knows if they'll be able to actually ever get it out of them. Probably not. But the FCC worked with a bunch of the cell phone companies to block 5 billion of the calls. They blocked 5 billion calls
We don't know how many they actually made.
I
Then.
mean, well, right. I mean, look how
Yeah.
many got through. They said
Yeah.
they eventually helped decrease the number of auto warranty calls by 99%, which honestly, I haven't received one in a long time. I don't know if other people have, but so it's good. So apparently the people behind it are already under lifetime bans for making telemarketing calls. Their names
Yay.
are Roy Cox and Aaron Michael Jones. Shame. So I feel like this whole robocall thing is just, it is one of those things in society. It's not the worst thing in the world. It's just one of those grinding annoyances that we just all have to deal with on a constant basis. I shouldn't have to put my phone on don't ring if it's an unknown caller all the time,
Right.
because I actually miss calls that I want that way. But I had to, because it was just, my phone was ringing constantly. I don't know. What do y'all think?
I applaud them catching them. And once in a while, you'll see where they took down a big spam operation, and it'll decrease for a little bit until they open it up somewhere else. But, I'm just so glad that there's some teeth that they could use to shut them down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Now, if they were out of country, they can't.
Right. They did say that if they don't pay the fine, they'll be referred to the U.S. Department of Justice for collection, prosecution,
Yay.
which
Yeah.
I know we don't do tar and feathering anymore, but, I could make an exception.
Yeah, and I'm not fond of doxing, going after people, but maybe they should be, right?
Right.
No, don't take me seriously, people.
Yeah, right. Oh, man. So good on the FCC in this case for getting these guys off our back. All right. So those are our headlines this week. Let's quickly move on to our picks of the week. Father Andrew, you're up next. What is your pick this week?
My pick this week is something just fun. At least I think it's fun. For those of you who are nostalgic for the Windows 95 and prior eras, there is a free software called DOSBox. And it's a DOS emulator, and it works on Mac, it works on Windows. I'm pretty sure there's a bunch of different downloads for Linux as well. So it's completely free. You download it, and you too can experience the joy of typing in commands into not just the command prompt in Windows, but actually a fully fledged DOS emulator. And the reason why I use it, and I have it on my computer, is I have a number of games that were DOS based. Space Quest 4 being my highest prized, and I still have my CD for it. And so the fun thing actually for me and for those who like retro gaming and DOS, I just copied the files from the CD, put it into a folder on the computer, and then in the DOS emulator, you can tell it to treat that folder like a CD. And so then it knows how to read it, can install, just as if you were installing into an actual DOS on an old computer. And then even it'll play the game and use that folder as a CD drive. And it works flawlessly.
And doesn't
it's
get
really
scratched.
fun. Right. So
Cool.
Cool.
just a lot of fun.
I've used DOSBox before for a couple of things that were very specifically old programs that I needed to run or wanted to run, but a lot of them were games, I'll have to admit.
Yeah.
I think kids who are into computers now should every once in a while dig into these old systems and see the way it was.
And there's another cool one, Dom, I think you would love, called Star Trek: A Final Unity.
Ooh.
And what's cool about it is the entire TNG cast did the voice acting for it. So there's voice acting, you control the entire TNG crew, and there's a Romulan invasion, and it's me and my brother used to play that for hours and hours and hours. And it's a fun story. It takes you a really long time to complete it. You go to a ton of different worlds, and it plays out as if it's just one really long Star Trek: The Next Generation episode. Like it starts off with the captain's log, and even the title of the game shows up as if it's the title of the episode in the opening scene. And
So
and the graphics are really cheesy, but
Oh,
they
yeah.
are really fun. Oh, it's really fun.
so where are you finding the games that you're able to do?
These
if you
these are games that we've had since I was a kid. So unfortunately, I'm assuming there's probably places where you can find some of these
I
games.
think there are some things online that you can go find some stuff, but I just didn't know
Yeah.
whether that's where you found them.
Yeah, no, we still have the CDs. So and for those that do need or want a CD, you can often find them on eBay for like, $5 from people who are selling them but there's probably an online place to find some of these too, but I don't want to say any because I don't know which ones are legit
Right.
and
Right.
which ones will download malware or do something bad to your computer.
Yeah. The emulator's fun. Just, yeah, go. We talk about them a lot on this show, but, they're just,
Mhm.
it's fun to kind of, see the way things were. I like that. Yeah. All right. And old games are still fun. They're a work of
Oh,
art, even
very
with
much, yep.
more primitive graphics and whatnot. They can still be fun.
There's almost I don't know, in my mind, almost there's a better sense of artisticness to some of the way that they had to, like, they were limited in what they could do, and what they did with that limitation was just phenomenal.
Yes. Yes. Constraints often make better art.
Mhm.
That's for sure. So, Pat, what's your pick this week?
Well, I do a lot of things where I carry pieces of, like external hard drives or things from one place to another while I'm helping people with their computers. And so many people are getting newer computers with a USB-C only on the laptops. So I found these, but I may need to plug in a hard drive that had a USB-A type connector. So they're just some little simple plugs that basically let you plug a USB-A and puts out a USB-C so you can plug it into your computer. Now, there are hubs that do the same thing, but these were just really tiny little plugs and make it real easy to stick them in your purse and carry them with you, because a lot of times I'll be backing up a machine on an older computer that has the older USB, and then I need to plug it into a new computer and it's got only the USB-C. So
Right. Just keep in mind that these are adapters. They don't make it faster or.
no,
Yeah.
they won't speed it up.
Yeah.
Now this one is a USB-C and a USB 3. So it's faster than some of the ones out there
that's
that
good.
were just hubs that were a USB 2.
So there's a
So-
link to an Amazon Basics USB-C Type-C to USB 3.1 adapter, and then they have like male to female and both ways and all that sort of stuff that you can find on there as well. But these will have a couple links to some examples of ones. That's good. I'm gonna need a Lightning to USB-C adapter when the new iPhone 15 comes out.
Well, the Anchor's got them,
Exactly.
and I think Amazon Basics also has
Yeah,
one.
I'm gonna guess there's gonna be a lot of them, as people are going to be. The rumor is that the iPhone 15 will be USB-C when that
Right.
comes. So, speaking of Apple things, as I do, last week my pick was the Apple Magic Keyboard with Touch ID, which I have love. It's become a wonderful keyboard for me, especially that Touch ID part. But one of the things that I love about Apple, that because I'm an Apple nerd, is how all of their stuff kind of fits together. And did you know that the trackpad and the keyboard are like the same width dimension? They're like the same. And so if you get this device from 12 South, the company's 12 South, called the Magic Bridge, you can put your keyboard and the trackpad in it together so that they're not like all, helter-skelter all over your desk. They're nice and neat together and they're packaged, and it makes your desk look all Apple-y and stuff. Who am I kidding? My desk is full of junk anyway. But I like having the Magic Trackpad and the Magic Keyboard together, and not the trackpad going off somewhere else on its own, to keep them together. And what's nice is they give you access so that you can get to the power buttons and the the lightning ports, because these are still lightning, the lightning ports to recharge them and all that stuff easily. I mean, it's mainly decorative in the sense of it doesn't have a lot of functionality, but I find it keeps my desk neat and keeps things where they need to be, so I can actually reach out without having to look at them while I'm podcasting.
That's there's the functionality, is if it keeps you more efficient.
That's right.
Right.
I'm definitely more efficient. And of course, you can put the trackpad on the left or on the right, depending on whether, what your preference. It is ambidextrous. So, and it's not super expensive. I don't think, I'm trying to remember what I paid for it. $50. They have a smaller one and a larger one. So if you have the extended keyboard like I do with the number pad, and they also have a smaller one, which is $40 if you don't have the keypad, the number pad. All right, so that is my pick of the week, and that will do it for us this time. We would love to know what you think of anything we've talked about. You can let us know by commenting on the show at sqpn.com/technology or the StarQuest Facebook page, facebook.com/StarQuestMedia. Send an email to technology@sqpn.com or visit the StarQuest Discord community at sqpn.com/discord, where we have a nice, robust Secrets of Tech channel. You can find links from our discussion and our picks of the week on our show notes at starquest.fm/TEC224. Remember to like each episode of the Secrets of Tech on Facebook, retweet them on X, where we're at SQPN. Leave us comments wherever you find us. And until next time, Father Andrew Kinstetter, thank you for joining me and sharing the secrets of technology.
Absolutely. This has been a pleasure.
Pat Scott, thank you as well.
It's been fun as always.
And once again, I'm Dom Bettinelli. Thank you for listening to the Secrets of Technology on StarQuest.